All right, let's dive in because we have not only lunch and champagne and wines and stuff that will be ready close to noon. I don't want to keep you waiting. But welcome to everybody who's on our live stream through Facebook Live right now. Sean, thanks to Sean for not only TAing but operating a very cool live stream. Thank you, Sean. And welcome to our Real Startup 2019 final presentations. So if I back up, Real Industry is an educational nonprofit, and the goal of Real Industry is to educate, empower, and inspire university students and recent grads to succeed in the arts and technology industry. For many of us in this room who are in that industry, imagine that we could go back in time and we could take everything we knew and all the mistakes we made and bring them back to ourselves in college. That's what we're trying to do. So it's a network of dozens of top companies, about 400 industry mentors who give tirelessly and sometimes give financially to support these programs and these students. 3 years ago, we started getting a lot of requests from students. They'd come up after a design challenge and say, hey Jay, I actually don't want to work at Dolby. I don't want to work at Avid. I want to be Dolby. I want to develop Pro Tools. I want to create the next Spotify. And so we accepted the challenge. And so this is the third year of Real Startup. It is a 2-week entrepreneurship program where students from around the world come out, the best and brightest work here, and over 2 weeks we give them an embarrassment of connections, basically everybody we've ever met in our lives who is awesome. The program would not be possible without some generous financial support from Brainworks, Plugin Alliance, Viva Sound, Pro Sound Effects, Native Instruments, Isotope, and Stashimi. Most of these companies have sponsored this program since it was literally just me and a Post-it note saying what I wanted to do. So a huge thanks to them for their support over the years, and also to our individual donors who write checks, make small Venmo payments to keep this program going. So before I introduce you to the teams, let's go through what they actually went through over the course of their journey here. We started here in this exact same room that we're in now, where we covered the basics of intellectual property, we covered how to pitch, we covered storytelling, we talked about how entrepreneurs are warriors, and we talked about what they need to do in order to succeed. And most importantly, the teams kind of got to bond and know each other a little bit. Day 2, we go over to my alma mater. We went over to Avid, where we met with the Pro Tools team and a lot of the lead audio engineers there to learn about how a massive production code base works, to talk about partnership strategies, developing plugins, and all the techniques that you might want to do for the software companies within us. We also were at the Nasdaq Entrepreneurial Center, really diving deep into why do you want to be an entrepreneur? And actually, this was usually one of the students' favorite things to do. This is a hard life. This is not something you should do unless you can't find something else to do with your life. So what's going to get you out of bed in the morning? Why do you want to do this, and what are your goals? Day 3, over to Eventbrite. Eventbrite, one of the leading ticketing platforms, and they have a ton of music venue options and music festival folks, so we met with a lot of their music team there. On day 4, over to Dolby for a full immersive day with their teams going through Dolby Atmos demos, both for post-production, for Dolby Atmos music, going into the physiology lab to actually see how the human body and auditory system reacts when we're listening to content. Day 5, our design-related day over at Mast Design over in the Dog Patch of San Francisco. Hearing some cool lessons from some of our friends over there about how consumer electronics are made and designed. What I didn't have is the barbecue at my house with me and Emily, our house over the weekend. We'll add those slides in later. So then we resumed on Monday at Smule, one of the leading music social networks in the world, to talk about how they're designing their apps and how they're building massive millions and millions and millions of people on their music communities. And then did our first Mentor Madness, where students spend a half hour at a time, each with a different mentor, for like 5 hours in a row. It's exhausting, but very rewarding. Over to Pandora. We're over at Pandora, working with them, really getting some great insights on how to build a massively scalable music streaming company, talking about music recommendation and data science, but also working with their creative team to talk about branding, marketing, how to create a brand voice as you're getting your initiatives off the ground, as well as time spent over at Twitter. Twitter, very similar topics where we're trying to build communities, we're trying to figure out what our brand voice is, and also how to construct the perfect tweets. What's the perfect tweet? Tweet at us, and we'll retweet it. On Facebook, the platform we're at now, spent almost a full day down there, again with the feeling of like, how do we build community for our companies, and even more broadly to support us in our entrepreneurial pursuits. Many of you might not know there is a music team and a sound team at Facebook. We are working with them, diving into some of the intricacies of the music licensing, of spatial audio, and getting their advice on where the students should go from here. Yesterday, we're at the venture capital part of massive multi-billion-dollar SAP, getting some advice from Ryan Phillips on how to go about pitching, what he and others at SAP look for when they are doing investments, and just getting some good life feedback in general. And then our final Mentor Madness over a couple blocks away at Galvanize, where we were able to meet over Zoom video conferencing for about 4 hours with a lot of other people. If you're not exhausted, well, I think we all are. The reason we do this program is really to connect mentors with the students. And I thought this was pretty exciting to take some students who I talked to right before this program began. So here are 2 students from last year. You can read the quotes yourselves, but I bolded, I thought, the cool part. Harold from Iceland says, "The level and commitment of the mentors are second to none." Totally agree. And Carissa talking about how excited she is about the opportunities in entrepreneurship in the music industry and the mentors and their constant positivity and support. Both of these students and their companies are still thriving, still working with mentors that they met during this 2-week program, and we could not be happier. It's about the mentors, it's about building community. During the course of our 2 weeks, this is just a small cross-section of the amazing people that the students get to sit down and talk to while they were there. So incredibly thankful for everybody's time to help out all of our young entrepreneurs. And then over Zoom and also visiting us during our Mentor Madness session, again, thank you so much to you guys for giving so generously of your time. It means the world, and the students truly appreciate it, as you will find out in a second. So with that, adjust your seats, grab a beverage, and settle in for our first presentation from Hidden Treasures. Woo!
Hello, good morning, everyone. First of all, thank you for coming to mentors and people from the outside, and thank you to our fellow entrepreneurs for hearing for the millionth time what actually we're about. But so what happened? Wait, okay. This is Hidden Treasures. That's us. We want to create immersive musical experiences that make you travel our world through music. I'll get into it a little in a second. This is what it looks like. We have an amazing visuals person that we are super thankful for that makes all of this beauty happen. So that's awesome. Our team, as I just mentioned, is Julia for the visual part. She's a visual artist, is currently working as a costume designer in film and theater, has worked as a graphic designer. She's amazing. We have Pablo from Spain. We are from Switzerland, by the way. He's from Spain. We, both of us, just graduated Berklee College of Music. Pablo more in the audio world of audio engineering and signal processing, and I graduated in performance and music business, so more a little bit on the other spectrum of things. We put some titles that are a little unconventional, just I apparently would be the mastermind. I didn't pick that title myself, but we have Pablo, our sound rounder, and Julia, the eye of the tiger, because she's our eye. Our origin story starts in Cuba. This is a picture from 2014 in Cuba, when we went traveling in Cuba. And in Cuba, we started seeing so much music that was just incredible. Cuba has an immense musical potential because they have amazing education when it comes to the arts, and not only in the arts, but you can't really hear their music outside of Cuba because of the economical and political situation. The one thing we have is Buena Vista Social Club, and that is only out here because the commercial music markets decided that that was okay, but it actually represents a very, very, very ancient part of Cuba's music. So that, with these visits to Cuba, and I went back several times, it started to work in me, and I started to start thinking about how can we bring this experience, not only from Cuba, but like from places that we don't usually visit, somewhere for people to access. Later, I started living with this handsome boy, and we started talking a lot about the same idea. We both have a big passion for social entrepreneurship, and that's how the idea evolved. What the actual idea is. So we want to create hybrid pop-up events in random places. Imagine a hair salon that is not used during the night. We want to go there. We want to install our events that move in urban centers. And let's say the event starts at 5 p.m. You can go there and you can sit down, and there's going to be a good amount of these headsets. You can go into the experience, and you can actually experience, let's go back to Cuba, the environment. What's the music like? What does it look like? What does it feel like to be in that environment? And let's say some hours later, you can get some great food, Cuban food. It's themed events. You will actually get to see one of the artists that we featured in this virtual reality experience live. So we want to create this hybrid that combines the live and in-person experience with the virtual component. That's what the experience would look like. You have the globe, you want to zoom in, and in that case, travel to Cuba and have a 360 experience of that environment. And subsequently, you actually hear the live music, which has a completely other air to it, another love. All right, let's see what we mostly, we got so much out of this program, but here we put together some of the main aspects.
Yeah, so as Jay just showed you, we've learned an incredible amount of things during these 2 weeks. So it's hard to, you would have had to spend the 2 weeks with us to know all the things, but related to the startup we're doing, these are some of the very important points that we've taken away from Real Startup. First of all, spending 2 weeks with Jay we learn about the importance of of network, how important it is to be generous with your resources and just share. Here at Kobe, Polsinelli with Kobe, first day, we learned that it's very important to pick the people in your team very carefully to create, because the product is the end, so you want to pick the people that can make that happen, not the other way around, not create something that because you have the team you would do. With Mark, just asking this question over and over again, what's preventing you from doing this? Because by asking this question, you get to next level of, okay, so I can do this, but what's preventing me from doing it? And again, and then you get to smaller steps that you can actually take day after day and move forward in your journey. So persistence, and similarly, the why question, why are you doing this? Why is it important to you? Why is it important to the world? By asking this, you end up finding your authentic voice, the resource. You find how you're gonna wake up every morning in your worst days while doing this journey again. Yeah, be the helper, not the hero. That resonates with us because we're also trying to connect people and cultures, just bring more empathy to the world there. Yeah, also getting to the technical side as soon as possible, because in the end we are doing techie things, and it's important that we get to a product that we can show as soon as possible. So thanks, Michael, for that. And testing, iterating, reiterating, finding what works, what doesn't work, and also backing it up with data, not only your opinions, but having a strong foundation on why you're making the decisions that you're making. Bobby, deployed too many, thinking outside the box and seeing places where you could put your content, your idea that you hadn't even thought about, because there's where the opportunity is. Have a plan, but be willing to change it. Just keep your eyes open, and yeah, listen to what people have to say. Don't be stubborn. Adapt. And yeah, then just keep going. He really made us believe in our idea, and so yeah, for us, it's a go. We're gonna keep doing this. Pass this.
Yeah. Yeah, and now what we want to do is talk to all these amazing mentors and companies and partner and people we met to get further and further. Yeah, and we are we find it's very important to have honest people who talking to us like, this works, this doesn't work. It's, yeah.
Like Frederick.
Yeah. For example, yeah. Yeah, we need support, we need advice, and we are on the way to finding the right tech personnel, and we have to pick up things, business idea, business. Yeah, we have to pick up the right business entity, and that's what we ask for you. I mean, we are. It's always nice and very helpful to get in contact, to talk about the idea, to get through the other steps who will follow us now. Mm-hmm. The next step, we wanna pack our things, and we are planning a trip to Cuba. We wanna do a prototype. Thank you. Yeah, and show how it works. If we are go more in the visual part, try to shoot a video, and after to have more attention to talk about the idea, what we always just talking about, to see how it will work, and get a step on the next. Yeah, and we really want to say thank you to all these amazing people, to this the last 2 weeks. I mean, it was very helpful. It was inspiring. A lot of input. All these nice companies we saw. It was amazing. And
I would second what the guy from Iceland said. I don't remember his name right now, but I am pretty amazed how mentors actually, it's not a casual, yeah, let's keep in touch, yeah, great, okay, bye. It's like people actually keep in touch, and I am amazed, and we're all super thankful for the time, because we know that everyone is super busy, and I think this is amazing. And like, again, Jay is so generous with his network and his resources. I think it's just absolutely awesome, and we're really thankful. And thanks for coming again. Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you. Who likes to sing? Anybody else like to sing? All right. Brandon, what's your favorite karaoke song?
Karaoke. Whoa, Okie, wow. Oh my goodness. What do you know? Karaoke and Okie.
All right, well, because everybody in this room is so passionate about singing, there's a big market. And to talk more about that market is Okie Karaoke. You guys go? If you want.
Hello everyone, thanks so much for coming out. Alright, so we're Team Okie. So I'm Noah. I am a student at UC Berkeley studying architecture, and my role is essentially design and product engineer. So I've had so much fun working with Lofei on these projects.
And my name is Lofei. I also study at UC Berkeley, mechanical engineering and business. We have a third co-founder. His name is Ayush. He's working on the software side. Unfortunately, he won't be here today. Yeah, before I tell you about our company and what we do, let me start off with where we started and what's our story from the beginning. So last summer, I was on vacation in China. And when I was coming back from China in Shenzhen airport, I got there 2 hours early, thinking I was probably gonna get a coffee, just sit there on my phone and just waste 2 hours of time. But then I saw these karaoke boxes lying around. They were literally everywhere. They were against the walls, they were beside the restaurants, bars, and I saw people singing them. So I was like, okay, that looks like a mini karaoke room. Never seen those before. What if I go inside and sing a couple of songs just to waste 15 minutes of time? So I walked in, thinking I was probably going to use it for 15 minutes. I ended up being one of the last people to get on the plane, because the whole experience was just so fabulous. It was, to me, like singing in a shower, but with studio-like equipment and environment, and I was like the pop star of the moment. So I came back and talked to my roommate Noah. We both go to UC Berkeley, and we're just like, hey, what if we bring this exact same idea, tune it to the American needs, and bring it here? So here we go. We have our design, Okie Karaoke. We install soundproof karaoke boxes in shop malls, airports, and all kinds of indoor spaces, so people can just walk in and sing it in 15 minutes or as long as they like. And this is our current design that Noah has made. The rendering we have already actually manufactured, so our V1 is at Oakland Port right now, which we'll hopefully receive by the next 2 weeks.
Right, so as Jay has elaborated on, we've been to so many places over the last 2 weeks. We've met with a number of people, so you guys have been so helpful. For us, we were really over and over again told, music licensing is something you really, really have to, protect yourself against. So for us, we think that's simplifying music licensing. We don't want to go out, get hammered by every license. We want to start simple with pre-made karaoke songs. That allows us to sort of get our toe in the water, right? As far as the design goes, we started very early on with an MVP. We don't have this in our slide deck. We made it out of wood. It was very scrappy. We got a lot of usage in our dorm room, and that was really helpful for us, and it helped, and it sort of like, sparked our enthusiasm. But with our current design, we've sort of started to realize we really need to draw the eyes, right? You've seen the rendering. We need to sort of dress it up. It's a party in a box. It's supposed to be that glamorous, glitzy thing in the corner. And we will continue to iterate. That is basically the bare bones sort of metal structure. We will sort of install lights. These are things we've learned that really are meaningful to people, that create sort of a whole experience, to feel the music with the light show. Privacy enhancing opaqueable glass. Those are features that we are working on. And that's thanks to you guys and your feedback. Ultimately, opportunity can be unexpected. We meet so many people, we don't know what they can offer us right off the bat. And so learning to be open is a big, big takeaway from this entire program. And over and over again, honestly, the thing we've been told the most is hardware is hard. It's the obvious point, right? But thank you guys for making that point, right? You have to accept that, and so we push through that, right? So thank you all for the feedback. So, to answer that question, are you guys continuing? Absolutely, we are a go. We've been working on this for a long time. We have our scrappy MVP. We have the manufactured version coming, right? With that, let's see. So with that manufactured version in the works and a couple other things, for example, our incorporation documents coming. We have a couple things to look forward to, but the problem is it seems with hardware in basically anything in business, there are so many unexpected delays. I have no idea where our incorporation documents are. They're probably lost in the mail, to be honest. Like, they should have been here 2 weeks ago. Same thing with our booth. But these things happen, and we're pushing through. What we're going to work forward towards is the beautification of our booth. Like we said, we want to polish up our software, integrate easy, fast, seamless payment. And Jay actually pointed us towards the Metreon Mall. We're really looking forward to approaching them as a possible location. We've looked at a couple other malls as well, and sort of dozens of locations, but we really think that we found sort of a nice enclave to start. So we're really looking forward to sort of planting the seed.
And our little help needed. First things first, I would really appreciate if any of you guys can point us in directions of music licensing people or just publishers. And one of the feedback that we got is, on top of our performance licensing, our mechanical licensing, our synchronization licensing, master voice licensing, we also have a publishing licensing. And so if any of you guys have expertise in that area or know someone who knows people in that area, we would really, really appreciate it if you can just talk to us, and we'll tell you more about our needs. And intros to locations is also a very big thing for us. So the ones in China, the booth in China, in just under 3 years, they have 100,000 of these launched. And I think a very big part of that success is they were able to get into these locations so fast. They were able to reach out to these malls. And we really need that connection here. We don't have that connection built up. So if you do know any locations, please talk to us. And it ranges from airports to malls to bars or even arcades. We think all locations are possible. And our near future, maybe down 6 months road, we're probably going to be looking for VC money, and hardware VC is probably going to be ideal. And so if you know any connections in that, please talk to us.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for coming out. You're so generous with your time. Everybody's busy. So we really, really appreciate the whole 2 weeks of help.
And our contact information. We'll be here, so please talk to us. Also, if you want to take a picture, please do so.
All right. Thanks so much, guys.
Go Bears.
Yeah, go Bears.
Music is the backbone of any college campus and any college experience, and any karaoke experience to that end. So where would we be if the artists in our communities and our networks couldn't actually make a decent living. So I want to welcome up my friends from Artist Hub, who are undertaking the big task of helping artists actually track where they're popular and successful. Anna?
Hi guys. So thank you so much for coming out today. Thank you for everybody who is streaming. Yeah, and thank you.
All right. So our team. My name is Brandon, and this is Hannah, my lovely co-founder. We just recently graduated from the University of Hartford in May, so glad we got that out of the way so we can work on business. I got my degree in business management with also a slight emphasis in performing arts management, which we'll get into later.
And I graduated in business management as well. So our origin story, we both have two different aspects of it, two different sides. I work with Alien Entertainment, and it stands for Artists Living in an Extraterrestrial Nation. And Brandon is his own hip-hop artist. This is his logo, Adversity. That's his whole brand. We had many questions with working in the industry. One question that did come up is how can data be digested easily? So there is plenty of data out there from Spotify, Pandora, and even SoundCloud, but it's pretty hard to digest as an artist. The main question too is, what do you do with this aggregated data, or just data in general? How do you go about your artist ways with the data that you do get?
Yeah, so, go back to the slide. So essentially, like, the problem we kind of both saw separately and then brought together was essentially the fact that artists get a lot of data, and, like, it's not tough to access your own statistics and your own numbers. But the next question is essentially, what do you do with all that? So we kind of took that problem and addressed it. And that's kind of how Artist Hub came about, because in business, that's really what you do. You just problem solve, essentially. So what does Artist Hub do? I'm not going to read this because that's a really long thing. You guys can read that as I'm talking. But essentially, we are going to be a marketing and management platform for artists to have access to. It's pretty much going to be a tool that can be used like alongside a manager or like as a supplement. The main goal of this is to give the statistics that are already out there, but encourage something more. So, for example, if an artist has a song that's popular in one specific area of the U.S., maybe Boston, we'll say, they see they have 150 listeners there, what now? So what we want to do is essentially tie that in to, for example, connecting it with venues. So if you have a popular listening in Boston, but that's your main crowd and maybe not as much in Phoenix or wherever, we want to help you capitalize on the market that you're already succeeding on. So essentially we'll have the artists book shows through our app, possibly partnering with brands like Eventbrite and different venues, just have that access. But again, with the same mission in mind of giving the artists the ability to capitalize on a fan base that they're trying to bubble up and then take that to the next level. Because artists today really think that they have to be the next Drake and be the next Chris Brown, which you want to shoot for the stars, and you can, but you don't have to be that big to make a living in music. And that's kind of a reality that a lot of artists don't really understand yet. So by our app giving them something to kind of pounce on like that at a mid to low level, it gives the upcoming artists hope and gives them an opportunity to better their craft instead of worrying about booking shows themselves and marketing themselves. We want to take care of all that so that you can hear more meaningful music by the next generation of artists.
So we had a bunch of key takeaways within companies and personal mentor meetings. So this is just some of our takeaways. Nasdaq really questioned us about the why. Why do you want to do this? Why is this important? Eventbrite, they told us to basically cover a niche and target a specific group as well. Dolby, these were the 4 pieces of advice that we did get from them, because we did have a full long day there. They gave us great insight. Twitter, what Jay did say how to tweet, but we do how to raise awareness for a business with the value proposition. And Facebook, just owning your craft. Do what you know. Here is the mentors.
Yeah, so some more key takeaways. But honestly, if we put every quote from people that helped us, it would have been like 13 slides. So we took kind of the main quotes and kind of like ideas that we got that kind of helped evolve us to the point we're at. So from Mark, said looking at this tool in the eyes of the artist, that kind of helped us get a direction of how we want to go about helping the artist, because you can't really do so unless you're in the shoes of the artist, and you really have to think from their perspective what's going to help them, instead of just looking at it from like, we're making this app and we want to do this. We really had to incorporate ourselves into that to get a better feel for it. And Daniel, news headlines on artists. So a lot of people are very interested in like the next big thing, who's going to be the next big artist. So incorporating a headline page where, for example, if an artist has a show from a venue that they booked through our app, then we'll have that at the top and be like, hey, this is my show. You get pictures and videos and stuff, and that kind of creates that buzz, and consumers can look at that and be like, wow, okay, he's doing shows there, he's got a little following, and then create that engagement. Monty, all these people were amazing, but she told us about the social and collaboration aspect, and that kind of that's when we took a turn for like the better understanding. And what we want to do for like collaboration essentially is have artists create a profile, like we kind of explained before, but inspiring artists to work together, because as an upcoming artist, people really think you have to like just, you know, put out music and then just keep working on music, put out music, keep on working on music. But if you're doing that by yourself, it's a lot of effort, and you're not really developing that fan base in a creative way. So if you're collaborating with artists that are popular in the same area, or popular in like the sense of what topics they're talking about, then you can kind of take two fan bases and make them one. And then after every collaboration, you're doing the same thing, multiplying. Developing a strong fan base organically is really key in terms of artist development. So Bobby told us how to monetize the business with more services. When we started, we were essentially just thinking that we were going to do a subscription and call it a day. That's not realistic in terms of business plans. You really have to have multiple income streams to get the most out of your development. So we want to do things like partnerships with companies like Eventbrite, for example, to bring attention to their brand and also help our operations run smoother. Sarah, finding common connectors between artists. That's kind of what I touched on a little bit, where you like the same topic, same area. We developed that from Sarah, and she pointed that out to us. Richard, promo packaging. Essentially, artists don't really like, we have to use social media because like that's how you reach the most people. But it really takes a lot of time to figure out how to market yourself, what to market, and all that. So if we could take that pressure off the artists, they have more time to work on their craft and again create that meaningful music that we were talking about. And Jason, the app is needed in terms of service from other services out there. And pretty much we were kind of shifting away from Spotify, because we originally thought like, oh, they're not going to give us their data to help our app, why would they do that? But then we read into it, and Spotify, as long as you don't like make money from the data that you're accumulating from them, then it's perfectly fine. So once we figured that out, then we're like, okay, we can use the mainstreaming services, we just have to have like a free part of it. So if you sign up for the free trial, then you can access all these, but if you want to pay like an extra $5 a month, then you get more services. So it kind of tiers to the subscription payments like that.
So the main question is go or no go. We are a go. There is a huge market that we do see and a huge need for this. A lot of mentors even did say that there is a need, and it's just how we go about it. There is some competition out there, but it is a lot of business to business business models. So we're just focusing on the artists, and I call it B2A, business to artists, not even a consumer, just all about them. And with the other business models, we do have, we curated a secret sauce so we can hopefully beat the competition one of these days.
In terms of the future, We want to develop a website and an application, but something that we learned from, oh my goodness, I'm blanking on the mentor's name yesterday, mentor meetings. Jason, yes, Jason. He is running an application that is sort of similar to what we're doing, and they provide data to artists and all that. But we really kind of wanted to get out of that conversation what's going to differentiate us from apps that are doing something similar. And most of these are not strictly website, but their website is like where you see the most data and everything's all organized, but the app is like a secondary. We kind of want to focus on making the app primary, because as an A&R, if you go to a show and you're seeing an artist, you're not going to have time to pull out a laptop and see all their stats like that. So if we make the app the primary focus and kind of develop that and make it clean to see and all that, then you're at a show, you can pull out your phone real quick and then see all your data like that. So we definitely want to focus on the application and get some app developers to help us in that sense, because we're business minds. We're not really on that side. But as we all know in business, you have to have a strong team around you. So we want to develop that. Contact potential artists, led streaming services, essentially just services that are focused on helping the artist and like not kind of about the business side. Like, for example, SoundCloud, because a lot of upcoming artists are on that brand specifically, so we want to help network ourselves through there and get the right connections to get us to the point where we're trying to go. Contact app curator, that's kind of more of the same, we touched on that earlier. And create our subscription model with other additional services. That's pretty much the tiered payments that we were talking about too.
And just a brief overview of this picture. This is what the app, hopefully it will look, it will look more detailed when we do get it out and running, but this is just an idea. You can be able to search an artist maybe one day. This is Annoyed. He is a Connecticut-based artist, up and coming. Actually just released an album today. But it will show your Spotify charts, so or your location listeners. That's this chart. Where are they listening from? So on that touring aspect. And then how many streams are you getting for each song that you have? So this is just 5 of his top streaming songs. So we are going to need your help moving forward. Continuous communication between you guys and us will definitely be beneficial for us. Open, honest advice, that's most important. Don't want to be told BS, Any connections on upcoming artist streaming platforms and venues? If you guys have any people in the network, just let us know. Potential funding, companies always need funding, and then recommendations just to any other contact that you think could be beneficial for us.
Yeah, so we really want to just take the time out of our presentation to thank every company that worked with Jay and kind of went out of their way to have their employees take time out of their hard-earned days to help us develop. It's a really selfless thing to do, and that's something that a lot of people in the industry aren't really willing to do, is really give you time and help you grow. So we definitely want to thank all of them and the wonderful donors that Jay elaborated on at the beginning, and thank you guys all for coming.
Here's our contact information if you want to take a picture, but we are all set. Thank you.
Go.
Yeah.
Any of my picture, Jay?
Okay.
No, not of you. Both. That's good, Jay. There we go.
For everybody on the live stream, that's Heather Rafter. You all know her. All right, Heather. What do you think of my shirt?
Love it.
Okay.
Professional yet, innovative.
Professional yet innovative, and the thing is, I don't know the first thing about fashion. No,
Oh, Jay, close it and reload it.
all right, you got it.
Press Command R.
You got it. I know nothing about fashion. So I either walk into a store that just has a genericized selection that I can't go wrong, or more than likely I'll go with Emily and then she just grabs stuff. And that is the best approach. There has to be a better approach, right? There has to be. Ladies and gentlemen, Lotus.
Hey everybody. So we're Lotus. It's nice to see all of you. Some of you, it's nice to see you again. So a little bit about us. I'm Brandon, and this is
I'm Marcos.
This is my right-hand man, Marcos. We met, I guess 5 years ago now in bioengineering at Stanford. So we finished that up last year, and then just last week, both got our degrees, myself in chemical engineering and him in computer science, our master's degrees. But you're probably wondering how like chemical engineering and bioengineering and those things relate to fashion, and in short, they don't. But that's kind of my professional side, is what I did academically. But my hobby, and I've always tried to maintain myself as more of an artist and artistic side. So done a little bit of modeling. I actually was a jazz pianist back in high school, and lately I've been paying the bills as a bit of a fashion designer and stylist. And Marcos over here, most intelligent guy I know, brilliant, and does AI and machine learning, and has been really delved deep in that stuff. So so how did it start? Sorry for the logo up top, but how did everything start here?
Jay's shirt.
Jay's shirt.
Correct.
But this was our room last year, and this is actually one of the dorms on campus. This is an actual on-campus house room at Stanford that we lived in. And
The only one of its kind.
Only one of a kind. Definitely the best dorm room on the planet. So this is where we lived last year, along with one other roommate, and this was it. This was where we started off for senior year, and it's just this wonderfully creative space. And I personally had always been, interested in fashion passively, but I guess maybe part of this creative space really sparked me to get, really passionate about it. And so over the next year, there were some 5 boxes of clothing on the internet that appeared at our doorstep.
Right. We had a whole shoe wall on this side that you can see.
What you don't see here was a wall that ended up being on an order of 40 pairs of shoes, starting from 0 over the course of the year. I literally restarted my wardrobe, and so it turned into this. Just a little bit about things that I wear on a daily basis. This was for no photo shoots whatsoever. This was just actually me on a regular day going to work when I worked at Genentech, actually. So this is like this is what I wear on a daily basis as a result of that year. And so the problem I realized was that it's really difficult to do this from scratch and to maintain this as an aesthetic. If you're a creative or an artist, maybe you're a musician, right? Like rappers are really into clothing like this. But if you're less eccentric and you're just a regular person, but you want to be more into clothing, you want to have more maintenance with your wardrobe, it's really difficult to find cool clothes on the internet.
I hear you.
Exactly. So like I said, thinking in that room and thinking about my own experiences with spending countless hours trying to find these, I'm talking hundreds of hours just to train Instagram what kind of clothes I might be interested in. We ended up, in thinking about this problem, talking to a few rather important people about this stuff, and a few insights we got, one of which is when e-commerce brands stop paying for Facebook ads, the revenue drops upwards of 90%. A friend of mine, and he's also a rapper, said there's no really good way of discovering cool clothes online. It's all word of mouth, and that really sucks. And talking to Stitch Fix, their chief algorithms officer, clients want the perfect clothes for their individual preferences without the burden of searching. And so that brings us to Lotus. And where Lotus is...
Right, so Lotus is essentially the Netflix for clothes. We are a retail aggregator and fashion recommendation platform that helps customers find their fits and brands find their customers. So as we mentioned with the Facebook ad problem, there's a lot of really cool small designers who they have really cool product, they have it all developed, but their last final issue is actually selling it, is actually getting it to market. And right now those things like Facebook ads, Instagram ads, those are their only main ways. So we want to create a platform where customers can actually interact with these brands, where they can actually see these and be recommended new brands that fit their preferences.
Right, so if you think of what the value out of a Macy's is if you're a fashion designer, you're a designer. You're not necessarily a marketer, you're not a supply chain manager, you're not really good at moving product, you're just good at making it, right? And so we want designers to get their value back as designers.
Right, and from the customer side of this, in the real world, brick and mortar retail, you can go to a mall and walk down and find new brands. But on the online shopping front, you tend to have to memorize like 5 to 10 brands that you might like and iteratively go through all those catalogs, and it's a time sink, and you're not seeing everything that you might actually want to buy.
In the mall, everything's together. On the internet, everything's isolated, right? So here's how it works. You create a profile. We ask you a few questions about your style, about your fashion preferences, maybe show you a few pictures, ask you how eccentric you want to dress, right? Do you dress kind of this super eccentric rap fashion? Do you dress like most of the world, right? Like, so we can ask you a few questions and gauge, what's your personal style? What's your size? What's your fit? Put in your socials, right? What do you already follow? And those kind of things. And so you end up curating a profile. So, you tell us that you like Gucci, Louis, and Fendi, and we feed you back a store full of Gucci, Louis, Fendi, and Prada, right? A little bit of organic discovery, a lot of bit of brand continuity. And you end up getting what appears a lot like a fashion consultant in your hand. And then overall, of course, what's the point of all this, right? You gotta buy stuff, right? This helps the brands, this helps you. And so, leveraging this insight of social commerce and everything is, you'll be able to have this profile, and henceforth that very easily lends to you having an online profile full of a wardrobe of your clothing online, and so you can see new pieces in light of what you already own to help facilitate your purchases. And just a little bit of nuance, not to spend too much time on it as a business model because I'm sure it raises a lot of questions. This would mean that we have a no inventory model. We really want to position this to sell any piece of clothing on the internet. As long as you tell us the things you like, and assuming that we're all knowing about the world of fashion and clothing online, you can leverage that to allow the people who are already selling the product to continue doing so. We're just a middleman to direct you to them. The way we make money from this is a standard retail markup, right? Just like a Neiman Marcus, right? They buy in bulk and for low and sell at a little bit marked up price. A similar model we could do. It's a commission-based model that we would be going for in the short term. But of course, as Jovan pointed out, all app companies are data companies in the long run, and so there's obviously, especially with a social platform, there's a lot of data to be collected, and that could be sold back to brands. That could be turned into a search engine type optimization algorithm within the clothing. If for say Gucci wants to liquidate last season's merchandise, we can force that into users' profiles so that they'll see it more often and be more persuaded to buy it. Obviously, that's a lot of value in the long run. So.
Speaking about the value we're giving, the value we've gotten from all of you, which thank you very much. We've got a lot of information about how you actually run a tech company. So that's things like software management and producing teams and how do teams run, right? Things like Agile and Scrum. And then the actual code management of like continuous integration and test-driven development and so on. A lot of information about that's more pertaining to our actual business, which is recommendation systems from Pandora, from Jason Joven, talking about collaborative filtering and everything. How do you have all these algorithms that actually rank clothes based on what consumers are buying, what the clothes look like, what their friends are buying, where they're buying it, and so on. How to stitch together all these algorithms to actually create a ranking. And what kind of information we can be pulling again, location-based, but Jason Joven even recommended looking at the Wikipedia pages of brands and finding out, which ones are trending based on their hits per day and so on. From the business insight side of things, working with Mass, actually, we were working on a separate problem, but just the process of deep diving into a problem, getting into a consumer's mindset and figuring out what are the real issues, what are the real pain points that we want to be solving. With Dolby, Avid, etc., learning about market research, right? How do you start from a very basic prototype, even just something drawn on paper, and start reaching out to customers and reaching out if this is actually something they want. Things like A/B testing, right? Things like having a dedicated beta group of your super users that are kind of like your bellwethers for where the market is moving and whether your product is actually a solution. Further than that, insights into Lotus. We heard some very passionate don't carry inventory. So things like that, things like the kind of pricing model we might want and what we can start selling in addition to this commission-based like affiliate model. Things like how we can market, the actual good in the world we're doing, not just our profit, right? But as I mentioned, a lot of these designers that we want to reach out to are very small brands. and also, you know, women and people of color and all these kind of creatives that don't really have large access. We're giving them a voice and a platform and a way to actually, you know, make a living off of their business. For personal development, actually, I think you might have seen that I'm kind of more the tech guy. Brandon is a bit more the business guy. Hate that cliche though. I've had a lot of opportunity to you know, to take questions myself, to pitch myself, to ask questions and be more comfortable, you know, driving a conversation, finding out how I can help people help me, give me information, and so on.
Yeah, and I think it's really important, right? It's like, especially since both of us have a technical background, I think it's actually really powerful that both of us can speak technical, but it's all the more important that both of us can speak business. And I think that's been really powerful just for both of us from this. Is like you said, Marco's like asking questions and getting more, you know, hands-on, playing the role of like CEO type pitching throughout this program, which is something that I've left up to myself up until this point, but then also more so for me as well as this notion of guiding conversations, right? Obviously we're a little bit tangential to the music industry proper, and there's insights that we hope to leverage from the music industry, which is why we really wanted to do this program. But as with anything, is, you know, when you're building a product, sure, you have a target audience in mind, but you have an addressable market as well, and so part of the element of that is pitching not just to your target audience, but to everybody. And you know, when someone is giving you feedback about your idea, how do you keep the conversation focused on your idea and that which is most valuable to you? I mean, everyone is, one of the things about fashion is everyone wears clothes and so everyone has an opinion on it, right? And it's really important that when those opinions come in and they're not necessarily valuable to the conversation as a whole, you as a person, as a businessman or woman, learn to just, you know, swat that inside aside so that you can go back to what you need to be talking about and what matters the most. I mean, not to disregard their comment, right? But like, you know, keep things focused, and that's really important to learn conversationally.
Keep things productive.
Yeah, keep it productive. So, what do we have in store, Marcos?
Yeah, so for our future plans, we actually feel like we have a good deal of customer insights, and we definitely want to just get started building out those prototypes, making sure that we're onto something, right? So we've started to flesh out the app. We want to continue building that over the next month or so. Put it in front. We have about 300 people on an email list, a lot of like Reddit, some of you guys, and so on. Right, the entrepreneurial lifestyle. We live together now, possibly want to continue. And then getting out in front of some VCs. We have a lot of support, I think, of people who say like, yeah, you're doing some great things. You know, we'd like to see where you go, but we want to bring people, have them be a part of that, right? And I think as soon as we've fleshed out the base product, the MVP, we can start to actually go around and start raising some money. How we can help? Again, we've got a lot of advice, but more advice is always helpful. Anything that you might see into our business model, into the kind of algorithms we're using, into how to actually build, how to test, and all that sort of thing. And we'll be reaching out to a lot of you, of course. Again, very thankful for what we've already received. Connections. So, of course, people in fashion, brands, so on. We're also really interested in the kind of interplay, I don't think we mentioned yet, between music and fashion, right? Like, there's always been a big kind of intermeshing between fashion. Musicians have always been influences, have always been leaders in the field, setting trends and so on. And so being able to harness that, being able to have this influence kind of help guide our platform would be really nice. And then, of course, if anyone has been sold, we are open to talking about that.
So yeah, thank you. Here's our contact if you want to reach us more. But as we mentioned, a few of us, you know, we'll definitely be reaching out to at least a few of you guys. So yeah.
Thank you, Jay.
Nice. I was polite about your shirt.
I'm sorry, Heather, I missed that.
Put together now.
Jay, she said you should wear my jacket for her.
It's got good advice on the back. Did you see?
I love it. I've been doing it all wrong.
I didn't even know you had said that.
So, I know your temptation is to want to immediately dive into networking and talk to the amazing teams that you just met. give me one more minute, and then we have lunch and a beautiful view and some beverages set up for that. I appreciate all the love coming in. Thank you guys. It's reciprocated right back to you. Sending out huge thanks to the back-end staff that we could not have done this were it not for Julia, who started working on this program probably in January and started harassing companies and reminding them that we want to come in and, you know, setting it all up. Julia was out here last week and then is back in Colorado this week. So Julia, thank you so much. To Andrea on our team, who leads all things community, all things donors, all things outreach, and all things everything else. Andrea, thank you so much for your help. And to David, who is building bridges with all of our media and entertainment companies and partners. David, you rock. Thank you. Also, I would not be a good nonprofit executive director were I not to say that this work would not be possible were it not for all the amazing donors that we have out there. We have two new ways to donate. We have a simplified donation page, which takes Apple Pay, Android Pay, super easy to work with, or who doesn't want to empower students? So you can just text empower students to 44321 and then magic happens. Just try it and see what happens. Just try it and see what happens. All donations include a free fashion consultation from Brandon.
Okay.
That's cool. All right, awesome. Awesome. Thank you all so much to the cohort. This is the third year of doing it. I hope the first 2 years haven't tuned in because you guys are absolutely the best. 4 for 4 on goes is impressive. I would have been just as happy if it was 0 for 4 and you all said we're not going to go forward because this is hard and now we know. That's cool. But the fact that you now want to go forward means we have a really good reason to stay in touch. So with that, thank you all for coming and let's eat. Next door.
Wow. Wow.